star Zion Williamson. He will miss an extended period of time with a right adductor injury.
Nobody wants to be on the floor more than Zion. This guy loves the game, loves his city. This is a brotherhood. This is a family, and that's what we're going to lean into. Nobody's feeling sorry for us. We're not feeling sorry for anybody. We get back to work. It's time to go.
I need you to pay close attention to what I'm about to tell you, because this might be one of the craziest stories happening in the NBA right now. According to Clutch Points, league sources are saying that the New Orleans Pelicans will accept, and I quote, the first decent and reasonable offer for Zion Williamson. Let me say that again. The #1 overall pick in the 2019 NBA draft, a two-time All-Star, a player that was supposed to be the most athletic and entertaining forward that's ever entered the NBA since LeBron James, one of the most physically gifted players we've ever seen, and the Pelicans are ready to just give him away. But here's the thing, and this is what makes the story absolutely wild. This was supposed to be the year that everything changed. Zion came into this season looking like a completely different human being. I mean, bro, come on, you can't tell me that this guy didn't look like he got on the Ozempic. We're talking about a 50-pound weight loss, looking leaner than he was at Duke. His own teammates said he's never seen Zion this slim, and for about 10 games, the man was absolutely balling out of his mind. So what happened? How do we get from Zion is finally healthy and he lost the weight to we'll take the first offer that we can get? Well, that's what I'm breaking down in this video today, and let me tell you right now, when we get to what this front office did with their capital over the summer, you're gonna need to sit down, because this is honestly one of the worst decisions I've ever seen in professional sports, and as a result of that decision, they may have no choice but to trade Zion. Plus, I'm gonna tell you which teams could realistically trade for Zion, and trust me, one of those potential destinations involves a championship caliber team that you might not expect. So before we get to the content, we are still running those jersey giveaways, baby. I'm going out of my mind, picking giveaway winners each and every week. All you have to do to enter is subscribe, turn on my notifications, and comment down below what jersey you want. If you want another chance to win a jersey, you can follow me on Instagram, turn on my notifications there, and just comment on my content what jersey you want as well. Now that we get all that out of the way, cue the intro. Over the past week, we made over $1,000 on Prize Picks. Now I'm going to give you some picks for tonight's huge matchup, but first, to sign up for Prize Picks, make sure you use my promo code microphone to get $50 when you make a play of $5 or more. For tonight's games, I have Jimmy Butler attempting less than 9.5 free throws. I got Josh Minot going over 11.5 points plus rebounds, and with Luka Doncic out, I expect Austin Reeves to easily clear his line of 28.5 points. I'm putting down $50 to potentially make $225. Get additional plays on my Instagram at TheFlightMike and in my Discord server, which you can join by clicking that WAP link in the description down below. We've been profiting every single day in that WAP community, and thank you Prize Picks for sponsoring today's video. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? It's so funny, every single time I leave my office and I leave my home, it seems like that's when the NBA gets the craziest. Let's take this all the way back to September, because man, the vibes around the Pelicans were actually pretty good for once. Zion shows up to media day and everybody's jaws drop. Zion had completely transformed his body through this intense summer conditioning program. His coach Willie Green was raving about him, saying, "I saw his work this summer, his attention to his body, his conditioning. He wants to be available for his teammates."
Looks good. Yeah, he looks good right now. He's slimmer than I've ever seen him during the summertime, which is always a really good sign. And, I just feel like he's in a really good place mentally.
According to BET, here's what happened. While Zion was rehabbing his hamstring from the previous season, he sat down with Pelicans trainer Daniel Bove and they had a real talk, like a come to Jesus moment. Bove basically said, "Zion, we gotta figure this out. When you come back from rehab, we want you better than before." So they came up with this whole new program, boxing workouts, football field drills, all kinds of different training methods. Zion even worked with Teresa Weatherspoon, a 5-time WNBA All-Star who used to coach with the Pelicans. And Zion himself said that it feels good to be good. I haven't felt like this since college or high school. And in the preseason, man, Zion looked incredible. According to Sports Illustrated, he shot 82% from the field in their final preseason game. He put up 18 points on 9 of 11 shooting against the Magic. But apart from statistics, he was showing improved mobility, improved explosiveness, and fans were excited. The media was buying in. Everyone thought maybe, just maybe, this was gonna be the year. But just like every single Ben Simmons free throw routine we see in the summer, we know how the cycle continues, and the Zion Williamson injury / weight loss saga operates in the same way. The actual season started, and within weeks, the nightmare started all over again. Now look, to really set the stakes here, just in case people think I'm being melodramatic, I'm going to give you some statistics, and honestly, they're kind of depressing. According to NBA.com, since Zion was drafted first overall in 2019, he has played in just 45% of the Pelicans games. 45%! The number one pick in the NBA draft has missed more than half of his team's games over a 6-year career. That's not a player with occasional injury issues, that's a player who is basically part-time. I mean, Zion Williamson is pretty much trending in Kawhi Leonard territory at this point. According to RotoWire, Zion has played fewer total minutes in his career than Paolo Banchero. Think about that for a second. Paolo got drafted 3 years after Zion, and he's already played more basketball than him. That's how bad it's been. Now, this season was supposed to be different with the weight loss, right? Wrong. First, Zion missed games with a bruised foot. Then came a hamstring strain that kept him out for 8 straight games. He finally came back on November 19th, played in 5 of the next 7 games, was looking pretty good, and then boom. According to the official Pelicans announcement, Zion has been diagnosed with a grade 2 right hip adductor strain. He's out indefinitely. He won't even be re-evaluated for at least 3 weeks. According to Shams Charania, he won't be back until at least late December, probably early 2026. And here's what's really crazy. ESPN's Bobby Marks pointed out that since Zion has played a career high 70 games in the 23-24 season, he's appeared in only 40 total games between last season and now. He's played in 30 or fewer games in 4 of his 6 NBA seasons. The only time he exceeded 60 games was that 2023-24 season, and even then, he got hurt in the play-in tournament and missed the entire playoff series against Oklahoma City. When he was on the court this season, the man was averaging 22.1 points, 5.6 rebounds, and 4 assists. He looked good, but he only played in 10 games out of 22. That's the Zion Williamson experience in a nutshell. Dominant when healthy, but he's never healthy. Now, the new interim coach, James Borrego, tried to stay positive.
Nobody wants to be on the floor more than Zion. This guy loves the game, loves his city, wears this logo with great pride.
And look, I believe that's true, but at some point the excuses just run out. The injuries keep piling up, and the Pelicans are left wondering if they'll ever see the player they thought they were getting. But what's making this even worse is what's going on with the Pelicans front office. Let me give you a brief rundown of the New Orleans Pelicans experience. First, let's talk coaching. The Pelicans fired Willie Green on November 15th after starting 2-10. Now look, I made a completely separate video on this and it was a great deep dive, but to summarize it, Green wasn't perfect. But let me put this into perspective. The man went 150 to 190 over 4+ seasons while his star player missed about 61% of the games he coached. Zion played in just 134 games of the 340 games that Green was on the sideline. How is any coach supposed to succeed under those conditions? James Borrego took over as interim, but he inherited an absolute dumpster fire. But that's not even the craziest part. What the front office did over the past offseason is criminal. Now, for those of you guys wondering, the Pelicans had the Pacers pick as a result of the Brandon Ingram trade. It was top 4 protected. It was a decent asset, right? Well, right before Tyrese Halliburton would tear his Achilles in the NBA Finals, the Pelicans would trade it back to the Indiana Pacers. And now, the Pacers have one of the worst records in the entire NBA. That pick that they traded away could end up being a top 5 selection in a loaded 2026 draft, which I've been doing my best to educate you guys early on the top 3 players, because this year's draft class could look a lot like the 2003 draft class. Cam Boozer, Darren Peterson, and AJ DeBonsa, all players that could be future All-Stars or better in this league. But it gets way worse. The Pelicans were obsessed with this one prospect. They pretty much used the 23rd pick that they got from Indiana plus their own unprotected 2026 first round pick to trade up and get Maryland big man Derek Queen at number 13 from the Atlanta Hawks. An unprotected first round pick. The better of the Pelicans pick or the Milwaukee Bucks pick goes to Atlanta. There's no protection whatsoever. And I could kind of understand it. Like, I've seen Derek Queen play a little bit. I see the potential. I don't think it was worth an unprotected first round pick. And you don't trade an unprotected first round pick unless if you're absolutely sure you're going to be contending. And making such a trade when your team historically has been dependent on a player that is never healthy is absolutely insane. The Hawks literally could not believe what they were getting. Reports say Hawks executive Bryson Graham asked for clarification multiple times to make sure the pick was actually unprotected. Their general manager called Joe Dumars directly to confirm that the Pelicans weren't joking. They waited nervously, hoping that Dumars wouldn't realize what a ridiculous offer he was making. According to CBS Sports, the rest of the league was reportedly laughing at New Orleans. One report said league executives were chortling at how bad this trade was. The Pelicans had Queen graded as a top 5 prospect internally, but even if he turns out great, the price they paid for him was absolutely insane. The Pelicans could have had 2 lottery picks in a 2026 draft class loaded with players like AJ DeBonsa and Cam Boozer at the top. They literally had their golden ticket to escape from the Zion Williamson era, but instead they're 3-19 with the worst record in the Western Conference. They have no first round picks next year, and this is the worst case of organizational malpractice on a level that I've never seen. So let's put it all together and talk about where the Pelicans are right now, because this was primarily a Zion Williamson video. Currently they're 3-19 with the worst record in the West. They've lost 13 of their last 14 games. Their point differential is horrific and fighting with the Wizards for the worst record in the entire league. And it's not just Zion, the entire roster is falling apart. DeJounte Murray, the guy they traded Dyson Daniels and 2 first round picks for, he tore his Achilles last January and is still working his way back. He hasn't played a single game this season. Jordan Poole has missed games. The team has been completely ravaged by injuries. And that's before we talk about how Dyson Daniels, the guy that they gave up for DeJounte Murray, went to Atlanta, won most improved player, and made an all-defensive team. This team gifted Atlanta a dynasty. It's kind of crazy. But that's enough about the current state of the Pelicans. I just wanted you to understand where they are and why they would potentially trade Zion Williamson, but there's one big problem. Zion Williamson's contract situation is absurd. Zion signed a 5-year, $197 million extension back in 2022, but after he missed more than 22 games last season, the final 3 years of his deal became non-guaranteed. That means that theoretically, the Pelicans could waive him after the season and owe him nothing. Now, that's probably not going to happen, but it gives any team trading for him some flexibility. If Zion doesn't work out, they're not completely stuck with the contract. This year, he's making $39 million. He's owed $42 million in the 2026-27 season and $44 million in the 2027-28 season. That's real money, but the non-guaranteed nature of those final years makes him more tradable than you might think. Now, you might be thinking,
okay, Mike, that contract sounds fairly tradable, so what's the problem?
The problem is Zion's actual trade value. Who wants to give up assets for a guy that missed more than half of the games of his career? He's never played in a playoff game. He's a ball-dominant forward who can't really shoot threes and isn't a great defender. When he is healthy, he's arguably a top 20 player in the league. When he's not, he's a $40 million sinkhole of cap space. So this is the part that you've been waiting for. Which teams might actually be crazy enough or smart enough to trade for Zion Williamson? Well, there are several teams that make sense, so let's go through all of them. Now, I'm going to start out with the most fascinating one, the Golden State Warriors. The Warriors had been connected to both Zion and some of the Pelicans' key role players like Herb Jones and Trey Murphy, and the Pelicans have shown interest in Jonathan Kuminga. Now think about what Golden State could offer. They've got Kuminga, who they've signed to a 2-year, $46.8 million deal a couple of months ago. They've got Brandon Podziemski, who the owner of the Golden State Warriors believes is a future all-star. They've got first-round picks in 2026, 2027, 2028, 2029, and 2031, and those are some very very valuable draft picks, because it's only a matter of time before the Steph Curry, Draymond Green era in Golden State is over. All of their all-stars are over the age of 35, so it's only a matter of time before those draft picks become lottery picks. A package of Kuminga veteran contracts for salary matching plus multiple first-round picks could absolutely get a deal done. At just 25, Zion gives the Warriors someone who could be their second best offensive player now while building their bridge into a future beyond Steph Curry. That's something Kuminga or anyone else on their roster can't provide. The risk is massive, but here's the thing about Golden State. They've shown that they're willing to swing for the fences. They traded for Jimmy Butler last year. They're a franchise that goes big, and people tend to forget Steph Curry was injury prone in the earlier stage of his career, so maybe their medical staff could help Zion get right. But Zion with that championship culture is very intriguing. But that's not the only California-based team that could be interested in Zion Williamson. The Los Angeles Lakers, no, I'm just kidding. The Sacramento Kings are 5-16 and desperate for talent. They've been collecting players without really even thinking about it, and honestly, Zion would fit right in with that chaotic energy. They have trade chips in guys like Zach LaVine or Domantas Sabonis that could make salaries work. Would it be smart? Probably not. Will the Kings do it anyway? Well, this feels very on brand for Sacramento. The Charlotte Hornets were a team that Zion was linked to just 2 off seasons ago, and LaMelo Ball and Zion Williamson together would be must-watch TV when both are actually on the court. That's another problem. LaMelo Ball is already fairly injury-prone, so pairing him up with another injury-prone forward seems to be a little questionable. But if these two could stay together, man, that would be entertaining. Charlotte could put together a package around Colin Sexton's expiring deal, plus some younger pieces and picks. The financial flexibility angle might appeal to New Orleans. Plus, it'd basically be a homecoming for Zion because he grew up just across the border in South Carolina. Look, here's the bottom line on the whole Zion situation. The talent is undeniable. When this man is on the court and healthy, he's a walking bucket. Career averages of 24.6 points per game on ridiculous efficiency, 66.5% shooting in the restricted area, a 2-time All-Star who can dominate games in ways that very few players can. But the availability issues have completely derailed what could have been a transcendent career. He's played in just 224 regular season games over 6 years. He's missed more games than he's played, and the best ability is availability, and Zion Williamson just hasn't had it. So let me know in the comment section down below, what is Zion Williamson's future in the NBA? Is this it for his time in New Orleans? Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.